Going Nowhere. Episode 4. An Unexpected Tenant. The Brentwood Area Community College was voted one of the safest campuses in the state, third best in student graduation, and most beautiful community college campus in the country. Of course, there must be some error here because their website never links any articles to confirm these statistics, nor could I find them online. But it is true that our campus is beautiful. Built on the burned-down stone foundations of a military base previously mentioned, it was originally drafted as an academic outpost, seeing as we are nowhere. Arthur Grayson really had a laugh with that one. Anyway, the college has stood for over 200 years since the Great Fire, training soldiers during both World Wars, developing into a formal college. It boasts serving as the site of an infamous civil rights riot during the 1960s, not admitting its first female student until the 1970s, and employing its first openly gay professor in the 1990s. A real pinnacle of the past and its struggle with the oncoming future. While the records of the riot, the students, and the principal are tangible and well documented, other parts of the college's history aren't. Searching through the records of the Museum of Nowhere, I can't find any mention of us sending American troops out to fight in World War I or World War II. No soldiers' logs, no military paperwork of any kind. Like many things in this town, the college seems to be adjacent to its history, rather than experiencing it. During the early 2000s, President Howard Wallace of the Brentwood Area Community College called for a beautification club to raise funds through the charity of the town, and allow us to both highlight and preserve the natural history of yada yada yada. The point is that the buildings had state-of-the-art tech installed, we took down some of the more racist statues around campus, and put in tulip beds to distract from the remaining problematic ones. And it became the pride and joy of nowhere, and of parents who wanted affordable education, all while keeping their kids right where they could see them. In fact, I was eating lunch on campus this afternoon, when I caught sight of the latest Nowhere Tribunal in a little free container outside the main building. I picked it up, read through it a bit, mainly because I had nothing else to do, and something in it struck me. If you're not familiar with Let's Talk Nowhere by Olivia Williams and her terrible attempts to be a Dear Abby advice columnist, then consider yourself lucky. She's a hack at best and harmful at worst, profiteering off of people's sensationalized stories. Tacky enough to make even Reader's Digest cringe, if she cannot find a story, she makes one up. However, the story from this paper, titled An Unexpected Tenant, seems all too real. With some attempt at taste, Williams allows her writers to be anonymous, which is why I cannot confirm for sure that these events happened the way it is detailed. The story itself is short enough, so I thought I would just read it in full. An Unexpected Tenant by Watched or Watching. It was late. But don't these things always start when it's late? I was sleeping on my couch, having passed out with the television on in the ground floor apartment I shared with 3 other girls. In the pitfalls of my slumber, I had been lulled into a peaceful sleep by the droning of voices on the cooking channel, and the gentle tick-tock of the antique timepiece one of my roommates brought back from an antique store. Somewhere around midnight, it's always midnight, isn't it? Something roused me awake, pulling me from the tendrils of Morpheus. See what I mean? Something knocking next to me. As I wiped sleep from my eyes, I realized the only thing out there was my back door that led out to our shared patio. Now, this patio was scarcely big enough to fit the deck chair and small plastic table set out. Not to mention, it's entirely fenced in. So there was no immediate explanation for the knocking. Perhaps a nocturnal animal had crawled between the fence posts? But animals, I thought, don't knock. It was a rhythmic knocking, sounding like bare knuckles on glass. Knock. Knock, knock. Knock. My sister told me of when she first moved out on her own, the stories of the creepers that would leer at her window, attempting to catch a glimpse, or stand by her door when she tried to leave, making her late for work. This area of nowhere is safe, though. It's right by the Brentwood area campus. I took the privilege of my security in stride. But it was midnight, and anyone who wanted anything at midnight could not want anything good. Jesus, okay. The knocking kept going. Knock, 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 knock. Outside the blinds, a peal of thunder shook the apartment, forcing me off my feet. Against my better judgment, I crept quietly towards the sliding glass door that led out to the patio. My ears rang with that knocking sound, over and over again, steady as I approached. Knock, 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 knock. As scared as I was, I had to get up for work in 4 hours, and a part of me was praying that it was just a small animal I could scare away. And if it was worse, well, like I said, I lived with 3 other girls. At least 2 of them had to be home, and if I started yelling, the apartment was small. My hand reached out, adrenaline coursing through me. It came still. Knock, 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 knock. My fingers curled around the soft cotton of the curtains, crumpling it in my hands. My eyes squeezed shut before throwing the fabric aside. Gingerly, I opened them again. The only thing that greeted me was my tired reflection in the glass. Rumpled pajamas, messy hair, scared eyes. There was a proper summer thunderstorm outside, shrouding my figure. The sky was a hazy orange that gave it the look of being set aflame by God, with flashes of lightning and the boom of thunder cutting through the haze. Not that I could see much, anyway. Between the dark and the crystalline drops of rain that coated the patio glass, any figure on the porch was easily concealed. Reaching over to the wall next to me, I flicked on the patio light just to be safe. I've never been afraid to be on my patio. When it's nice out and my roommates are bothering me, I'll sit out there and people watch with a nice cup of sweet tea. People, as they are inherently fascinating. I suppose if I was any expert, I'd know a thing or two about my neighbors. But the stories I can make up just by observing are so much more fun. For example, the couple across the sidewalk from us constantly fight, silhouettes of an argument dancing across their translucent blinds. I bet it's because he's cheating on her, or she wants to move to a new job and he won't let her. Things like that always happen in dramas. I decided a while ago that their names were Mark and Lillian, on account of the fact that she has this gorgeous goth aesthetic, and he looks like every man I've ever seen in a grocery store. Admittedly, I watch them a lot, since they leave their windows open all the time, and their blinds are so thin. The neighborhood kids, teenagers, the majority of them, are actually conspiring to take down the head of the Student Council Association, arming themselves with social media posts and vicious rumors. Or maybe they're hanging out on the playground in the center of the apartment buildings, drinking on Saturday nights to forget the pain of being 16 again. I've only caught them with non-alcoholic sparkling cider, though, and I think it was because one of them was having a birthday. They are almost as interesting as the couple, given the way teenagers interact with each other. If I keep watching, I bet I'll catch them right as the main girl gets a makeover and is crowned prom queen or something. While it may seem a bit invasive, the watching is harmless. Something fun I've always done to pass the time and make my life a little more interesting. That patio was a safe haven where I could observe and feel no consequence from it. When I turned on the patio light, I was once again greeted by my haven. And nothing else. All that there was a cement floor with no one standing upon it, a deck chair, and a small plastic table, all damp from the rain. It looked like the thunderstorm was just clearing up, with the orange tint of the sky giving way to inky darkness of midnight. Across from me, I saw no illumination in the neighbors' windows, and in fact no light came from anywhere except the one lamppost at the end of the sidewalk, casting its shadows. Except these didn't seem quite right. The shadows on that sidewalk, given off by trees, bushes, and the overhang, grew longer, stretching across the cement floor and towards the glass, reaching like fingers towards me. I quickly shut off the light and closed the curtains again, daring not to look out. Something about a warm, humid summer night brought things that best not be sought further. That stopped the knocking for the night. I was able to go back to sleep and get up for work. But since that night, I haven't been able to set foot on my patio, and I haven't opened the curtains again, because every night the knocking comes back, and I know better than to open the door and invite it in. Since that night, no matter where I am in the house, there is the overwhelming feeling like I am being watched. A crawling, itching kind of feeling on the back of my neck. Eyes boring down into me from the shadows that creep and stretch towards me even in the brightest light. The writer continues to ask Williams if she should... Charlie! Do you consent to your voice being used on air, any personal details utilized in the podcast, etc., etc.?
Meg, turn that off.
Yeah, sorry. There, it's off.
Okay, now, hold the trash can while I get this broken glass out of here, and tell me again what's happening?
The power in the house has been acting kind of weird lately. Actually, it might just be my room, because I haven't really noticed it anywhere else. And I asked Mom about it, but she said it was the light bulb probably just dying, and it blew out on me during recording.
You didn't step on any glass, did you?
I don't think so. I shook myself out.
Thank God. Broken light bulbs can be dangerous.
You don't have to tell me.
Right. Well, let's replace this one before we jump to any conclusions. All right. There we go. Hold this.
Yep. Got it. Yeah, I've got it. I'm
Steady the chair.
I'm steadying it.
Almost. Alright, there we go. Okay, that's odd. That's a brand new bulb. Your spirit theory might be right, but that's an easy fix. Have you got that Palo Santo I gave you?
Yeah, do you want me to...
I've got a lighter on me. I can do it. Go open the window. Just wave this around the space and hopefully... Meg, I told you to turn that off. It's still... What are you doing?
Saving an audio file. I'm trying to record, but I was afraid with the bulb flickering that it was gonna... Given that it burst on me last time.
It hasn't stopped?
Not with the light bulb change or the room cleanse.
Is there a pattern to the flickering?
Nope. Think it just wants attention.
Definitely could be an entity. Do you have...
Tarot deck? It's been helpful quite a few times.
This is mine, you know. I loaned it to you.
Well, you never asked for it back.
Don't get smart. It's coming home with me after this.
That's fine with me. I probably won't be needing it anymore.
No more late-night drives to crime scenes or graveyards
nope.
or...
Especially if this lamp ends up being cursed.
It's not cursed. There's no such thing as cursed. Let me just shuffle and concentrate. If there is anyone here with us, please use these cards to state your intention.
Charlie, that's...
The tower. Yeah. Meg, reshuffle these cards for me.
Yeah, sure.
Alright, that should be fine. Now, pick whichever one you feel like.
It's the tower. Maybe it was a mistake last time. Let me reshuffle. Okay. We understand your intention. Is there any specific message you want to send? Anything you need?
The tower. Meg, just give me the cards and I'll figure out something. I don't know if you're in any danger, but Meg, are you recording this again? I told you I don't like it when you do that.
Of course, while the story Olivia Williams presents in An Unexpected Tenant is short and well embellished, it has an interesting connection to real life. As of late, I found out my number comes up as "Do Not Answer" in the local coroner's office. So getting any reports from there is a dead end. No pun intended. However, I do have one ace up my sleeve. Thanks to Scotty, a friend of mine that keeps himself up to date on these sorts of things, I caught wind of a recent death in nowhere. All respects, of course, to the friends and family. Zelda Fairbanks, aged 28, was found in the living room of her ground floor apartment, standing in front of the sliding glass door that led out to her patio, where roommates report she often spent her time. Fairbanks seemed to have suffered a critical heart attack, which is strange for her age. But if it wasn't the heart attack that killed her, it may have been the blood loss from the removal of both her eyes. Police are assuming someone broke in and killed her, considering the glass door that led out to the infamous patio had the curtains pushed aside and was cracked open ever so slightly. Ironically, there are no witnesses to the event. And as for personal matters, I may be moving to a new recording location soon. Whether it's just in my head or not, the air around me feels heavy with something. I can't stop thinking about the image of a tower on a card being struck by lightning. An omen of a disaster yet to come. When Charlie got home, she called me to tell me that a card was missing from her deck and asked me if I took it. I told her that obviously I didn't, which means that as of now, that card has disappeared. And you can probably guess which one it was. I don't think this is the last I'm going to see of the tower. We overestimate how much privacy we actually have. I've said it once, I'll say it again. In a small town, everyone knows everything. It wasn't too difficult to get the reports on Miss Fairbanks' death. Sure, I had to know the right person, but the legwork was minimal at best. If someone wanted to get to know me real well, I'm sure they could. How many of our neighbors spy on us from the cracks in their blinds? How many of us feel the weight of eyes upon us, even when we know we are alone? How many, like Fairbanks, find themselves invested in a story that they can't quite shake? I often feel like that. The more I dive into nowhere, into its history, the more I am surrounded by threads that connect to nothing. Maybe in the end, we're all just stories waiting to be told. But I can't shake the feeling that this one may not have a happy ending. Stay curious, Nowhere. Going Nowhere is a weekly mystery podcast produced by the Nowhere radio station. In this episode, Charlie Lyle was played by Rose K. Morgan, at Rose K. Morgan on Twitter. Make sure to subscribe to catch the next episode. Rate and review us on iTunes or leave us a like. Your support genuinely helps. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at nowhere_pod. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.